For some, getting the word out is the holy grail of marketing. If only more people knew what you knew, if only they were aware of what you have to offer, aware of your work, perhaps you could get more people to read your Facebook, to know about your new property, or to see your ads in the papers. But we know awareness is not action. Everybody here is aware that Brazil is a country, but it doesn't mean you visited recently, or it doesn't mean that you plan to go anytime soon. Everybody here is aware that carrots are a vegetable, but it doesn't mean that you're going to have them for dinner. Awareness is important, but it's insufficient on its own. Action comes from tension, it comes from desire, and it comes from fear. Action is the hard part. So, thank you to Lauren. My name is Neil, I'm Head of Marketing at PlotBox, and today, with all the craziness of the modern world, all the tools, tricks, software, technology that we have, we're going to try and make sense of how to initiate the action that you guys seek from the communities you serve. So to help frame this, here are your buyers. Skeptical Steve on the left and resourceful Rebecca on the right. He represents the old world, she represents the new world. These two characters represent the vast contrast in buyer behaviour. And because their behaviour is so different, your behaviour must be different to win too. So let's have a look. Skeptical Steve. He's beholden to salespeople for information. He needs procurement to help him buy stuff. He's naturally skeptical of salespeople. Rebecca, on the other hand, she does her own research online. She's in control of the buying process. And she expects salespeople to help her learn, not sell to her. It's a well-known but sobering fact that in the modern world, buying processes are typically 50 to 70% done before the buyer reaches out to sales. That's not news, but it means that we need to be acting and behaving differently to find ourselves in those buying processes. Each of us in this room, each of our businesses in this room are in buying cycles right now, and we are not aware of it. So what can we do to mitigate that? Some research to confirm that point. This is done by HubSpot. They asked 3,000 B2B and B2C buyers, salespeople, and they asked them, are buyers these days more or less dependent on salespeople during the sales process? And a whopping 57% said they're less dependent than they were 3 years ago. And then the split on the rest was about the same between people saying more dependent or about the same. So the trend is clearly that buyers are more empowered and they need salespeople less than they used to in order to get the stuff done that they want to. So let's look at our buyer. Let's look at our salespeople. My apologies if there's anybody called Marcus in the room. We're labelling you today as manipulative Marcus, and genuine apologies if there are anybody, but it's not personal. And we've got helpful Hayden on the right-hand side. And again, this represents the old world and the new world. So manipulative Marcus, he's trained to persuade and spin. He borders on manipulation. He's a lone wolf. It's the mentality of just leave me alone to hit my number. He's resistant to change and he's hyper-competitive with his peers. Hayden, on the other hand, he wants real-time feedback. He wants coaching from his boss. He embraces technology and he often pushes managers to use more. He knows that competition is about collaboration, not between his salespeople too, but between sales and marketing. It's a big part of his success. Critically, the last point on the side there of Hayden, he challenges, teaches and advises his customers. And that's critical. We'll come back to that theme throughout this presentation. Okay. So what are the implications for that? Given that salespeople need to change because we know our buyer has changed, what do the organisations need to be doing differently with their marketing and the way they communicate with their communities? We are probably at the moment, the average cemetery, I'm generalising, we can't speak for everybody, but we are probably at the moment geared towards outbound marketing. That's, in a nutshell, that's one-way communication between you to them. So you're broadcasting. It's about display advertising, billboards, press ads. It's intrusive, so it's TV ads, it's radio, it's breaching their space. It's pitch-oriented. The salespeople are in control. It's promotion-led, so it's kind of like buy now, discount, that kind of thing. It's about you chasing the customer. But in the end, the biggest budget always wins. But the good news is that with inbound on the left-hand side, there's an opportunity. But why? Remember that the customer has changed. They're enabled to search through technology and learn without even speaking to you. But you've got to connect that buyer to your business. So what do you need to do? First, acknowledge that the buyer is in control. We need to offer more two-way communication. We need to generate content and, importantly, distribute that content in the right places online. Done right, your blog will be a key pillar for your communication and your success online. You need to be able to nurture your leads online, and you need to optimize your website through SEO. You need to produce the educational content that Rebecca, that persona that we looked at earlier on, is seeking. Remember, she wants to learn and come to her decision herself, almost. She doesn't want to be told what's right from the seller. And in essence, you are helping customers find you. So it's the other way around. We're not chasing customers. These guys are searching online. It's about helping them find us. But the truth is, you need both, because both inbound and outbound both have their place. And at PlotBox, we do both. We have to. We're big on inbound, but on its own, it's not enough. That's why we're here today at this convention. This is an outbound activity. But we believe there's a gap in cemetery marketing on the inbound side, and that's where we're going to focus today. Now, ahead of today, I was speaking to the outgoing ICCFA president, Christy Henches. And in the weeks ahead of this, and being a star, Christy had kind enough to share some real material from her archives, from her cemetery organisations, and to demonstrate this point. So we're going to indulge ourselves for a moment and just have a look at some typical cemetery marketing and see what we find. So here's an ad. We're going back some decades. I think this is from the 40s. So we need to bear that in mind. But for me, there are three things that are jumping out on this page. It doesn't cost anything to listen. So we are asking our customer to listen to us, listen to what we have to say, because we're important. Listen to our message. We promise no high-pressure sales. Why do we feel like we need to put that front and centre in our ad? Do our communities feel like they're going to get that from us? Think about Marcus on the earlier slides. Are they expecting Marcus when they come to visit the cemetery? And here, we'd like to show you a selection of our new property. And there's nothing wrong with everything that's there. We just need to reframe that differently and put it more on the buyer's terms. Here's a mailer that went out. Free heirloom family Bible for taking a guided war at Elmwood Memorial Park. Nice. It's a freebie. But with my cynical hat on, I'm going to say that I'm going to be walked around a cemetery with manipulative Marcus, and he's going to be pitching at me the whole time when all I want is that free Bible. So I'm not saying that freebies aren't good and incentives done well aren't right. They've all got their place. But in the modern world where we're so time poor, this just wouldn't work nowadays. But we do have to appreciate we're going back in some time here. Would you permit your wife to spend $2,500 without consulting you? That's provocative in the modern world, and you know we have to appreciate that again we are going back in some time here. But to be fair, what this is doing is avoiding emotional overspending. So it's creating that tension that we're trying to seek. So what we're saying here is, look, there's going to be a problem. And that's what this ad does quite well. We just need to reframe it to work these days. Wives, how much do you know about your husband? I like this. Today the ad wouldn't work, not least because if a woman really wants to know what her husband's up to, she enables location services on his smartphone, and then she gets to know everything that he's up to. It's different times, but seriously, while the language might not work today, what the ad is doing really well, again, is creating tension. At the start, we looked at the start of the session, we looked and said that fear, desire, and tension lead to action, and that's what that does. It asks the question to one of the two in the partnership: how much do you know? Because there might be a problem. Why leave your funeral and cemetery planning to your kids? They don't even know what to get you for your birthday. So how are they going to know what your wishes are for your final resting place? It's humorous, it's done well, and it's clever. We like it. I genuinely laughed when I saw that. This is good. So this one's a mailer. Okay, it's an education piece on the associated implications of cremation. Now, Christy tells me that that however good this was, the creative and the points on the page, it didn't do well in terms of generating inquiries. She suggests that it accounts for the fact that cremation consumers think that being cremated is the only decision they need to make. Similar activity that these guys ran with mail drops of the similar sort have generated 100k in revenue in contracts, but this barely got any inquiries at all. So we'll come back to that, but we want to pick that theme up. But a big shout out to Christy and everybody at the tribute companies for allowing us to critique that work in such an open forum. Thank you. So with all of those examples, they were different. All of them were different in many ways. But what was the common thread running throughout? They were all outbound activities. They were all intrusive. They were all ads. They were pitching. They weren't helping the buyer through the journey. They were trying to grab attention. There's nothing wrong with doing that. But we feel like there's a gap. Okay. So it was all over here on the right-hand side. What we need to be doing is offering more two-way communication, finding ways to do that. Content strategy and blogging. Your blog will be fundamental when it's done right, and you know the personas, you know the communities you're speaking to, you know what their problems are, their challenges, their aspirations. Your blog will be critical. You need to nurture your leads online. It's important. You need to recognise the buyer is in control of the process. You don't even know you're in a process. The search engine optimization for your site, the educational content. Remember what Rebecca wants from the early slides. She wants to learn and arrive at a decision. She wants to research and do the best thing she can. She doesn't want to be told what's right for her. And remember, you're helping customers find you. You're not chasing customers. These guys are searching night and day online, and you've just got to help them connect to your business. So, if there's one thing that you, in our point of view, that you need to do on the back of this one presentation, if there's only one thing you do, invest in a proper CRM solution, a customer relationship management tool. For hundreds of reasons, limited to but including. A contact database management system that doesn't walk out the door when your salespeople do. It's good for pipeline development, revenue prediction. And in time, as you move towards inbound marketing, you'll want to be integrating your CRM with those activities. It is literally impossible to run modern marketing without an effective CRM system, and there are many on there. At PlotBox, we use HubSpot, on the top left. It's very, very good. It's one of the market leaders. Our sales team use it, our marketing team use it. It's very good, especially on the marketing side. We have a CRM, PlotBox there in the middle, but we don't use it, and for good reason. We've made that for cemeteries. It's not configured for what we need. It's configured for your individual workflows. It's built around a cemetery-specific workflow that's pre-configured to your needs, not ours. And what's good about that is when the information is collected up front, when data goes into that system, it can automatically flow to sales and to contracting. Okay, so remember at the start, we can't just tell our communities about the things that we need to do from day one. We can't ask them, we can't get them to vote, we can't get them to buy, to register, to visit, to test, to trial. They need to be persuaded through desire, fear and tension. They're not going to do it just because we want them to. And now we're going to take a look at the practicalities of how we get them to do that. So this is a chart, okay? This is from Google Trends, okay? Now the search term I've used to measure here is cremation services, okay? It's just for an example. We're not here to teach you guys about cremation or go over the trend and the rise of cremation and all of that. That's not what we're here to do. We're just using cremation as an example of how we might take this challenge that the profession has and the opportunity that this presents us and how inbound marketing might help us with that. So you can see over a 5-year period, the trends for online searches for cremation services is going up nicely. So remember what I said earlier. So Christy said about that mailer. She did a cremation mailer. It got very few inquiries. Compared to her other mailers, where she could have got 100k in bookings and contract values signed on the back of that. So it suggests that there's a disconnect between the perception of cremation and the reality of cremation with the consumer. You guys hold all the knowledge. You have all the answers that the consumers are looking for. So there's an education piece here. It's therefore a marketing piece. And knowing our consumers are active online, for me, inbound marketing is the only real means to deliver that message and cause the action that you need. Remember what we're talking about at the start. Awareness is one thing, but action is harder. So for the purpose of the next section, okay, we're going to look at this buying cycle. And we're going to use cremation versus burial as our example of how we might bring a prospect through the buying process, as you can see here. So there's 4 stages: attract, convert, close, and delight. Those people are going to be strangers in the circle, they're going to be visitors, they're going to become leads, they're going to become customers, and then they're going to become promoters. And in the bottom row there, we've got a lot of activity, marketing activity, that we're going to do at each stage of that process that is going to help the customer move through the process on their terms. So let's look first. We're at attract, okay? So this is the very early stage. And if we imagine we're here in the blue circle on the left, we're strangers to this business. So I've gone online and I've Googled cremation, Charlotte, North Carolina. And they're my keywords, okay? Those are the words that consumers use to search and find the material they're looking for. So keywords, okay? Typing in those keywords into Google or any search engine is going to give you results. And at the top here, you can see Boston's Mortuary. They're offering cremation services, okay? We can see what they're offering there. That's a paid ad, okay? Below we've got a map, and Google's going to serve us a map of all the cremation things it thinks are cremation-oriented in the local area. And then at the bottom there, we've got Cremation Society of Charlotte. That's my Google business profile. It's got a link to their website. Google's going to give you directions. It's got reviews. It's got an address. It's got a telephone number, and it tells me that the business is open now. So another tip, if you don't have your Google My Business profile claimed, you must do it. If you don't, and it's not populated properly, or it's got incorrect information on it, because let me tell you, other people can populate it for you, you're losing leads, and you could be losing sales. So that's keywords, okay? That's one way. Let's have another look. So somebody goes into Google from a different point of view, okay? Then they're not decided. They don't know if they want cremation or burial. So this person says, should I be buried or cremated? They're keywords too. And what Google recognises is that this is an inquiry. This is advice it wants. It's not looking necessarily for a provider. It's trying to answer a question. So Fee and Sons, they've written a blog. And the blog is titled Cremation versus Burial, How to Decide Which is Best. And if we click through to their site here, what we can see is the website. And the website has got a bunch of helpful information that directly answer the question. And Google has put that stranger on the website because it can see the link on the inquiry. So we've attracted people, and now we're going to convert people. And we're going to look now at what that means. So now we've got visitors on our website. Here's another blog, okay? So somebody's found their way to a blog offering cremation advice. And these people have got to the bottom of the blog, and all of a sudden there's a download. This download is a complete guide to cremation. So they've had a teaser of content from the blog, and now here's the real meaty part. This is the part that they're looking for. This is the real helpful information. But the website owner's savvy enough to know, do you know what, if I'm giving you this information, I want something in return for it. So here's a form, a real simple form. 2 fields, first name, email address. That's all they're going to ask. You fill in that form, press download, here's your information. So that's that thing about education. So the customer will be willing to give up information if you can help them with educational content, and that's a prime example of what that is. Here's another one. Here's a cremation website from the UK. So the main feature on the page is an ad that they ran on TV. And then around that ad, when somebody has watched it, there are 6 ways at least that I can see on this page that the consumer, that the searcher can interact with the business. So we've got here, request an information pack, request a callback, have a question. There's another tag on the right, the thing on the right-hand side that's red, more information there on that information pack. They can fill in the purple banner below to subscribe to the newsletter, or the little red button in the bottom right-hand corner, they can open a chat and talk directly. So there's 6 ways at least on that page for the person to interact and share information with the business. So one of them's a callback. Not everybody's going to be ready for a call. They're not ready. They just maybe want to find out softly, so they sign up for the newsletter. Either way, they're giving you their contact details. And what you do with those contact details is up to you. And we'll come on to what we think we should do with that. So, what happens? However which way, contact details are shared by the owner, by the consumer, and go into the business's CRM. Here's a screenshot of a CRM, and from this point, the contact details can be handed right over to your sales team. They can be held by marketing to go into lead nurturing flows, and we'll come to that. But you can see here all the vital statistics on the right-hand side. The number of emails that this salesperson's done, the number of calls today, how many meetings have they had this week, how many contacts have they created, how much prospecting have they been doing, how much revenue have they brought in this quarter. There's nowhere to hide. All of the salesperson's activity is there. And what's important about that is that you spend this money and this time, this energy on marketing, you need to know that investment is being followed up on. And that's why you need a digital CRM, for lots of reasons. Okay, we're going to go to close. So we've now got leads. In my book, a lead is somebody who you have contact information for. And what we're going to try and do now is close this person to let them become a customer. So what are we going to do? We're going to nurture them by email. So let's say this person was on that website, they didn't request a callback, but they want some information. They're probably not at the stage in the buying process where somebody can say, let's put them over to sales and try and get this person closed. They need more education, they need warmed up, they need more awareness, they need to be convinced. So let's say there's 4 emails that go out after a 4-week period. 5 things you didn't know about direct cremation. I'm sure that between everybody in this room, we could think of many, many things about direct cremation that the consumer doesn't know. And that's fine. Email 2. Is cremation really as cheap as it sounds? So what this email can do is speak about the unexpected costs maybe. Maybe there are costs further down the line when, we want to place the remains somewhere. So you can explain that to the customer to help them make the right choice between burial and cremation. Ceremony and memorialisation with cremation? Yeah, really, you can do that. Not everybody knows they can do that. So let's educate our people on that so that they can make the right choice if you offer both. And finally, burial and cremation. Let us help you do it right. Come to our open day. So after this month, this consumer has been exposed to some really helpful information. The email goes out, it has a link to the website, and on the website there are lots of calls to action. At any point during that process, the consumer can choose to contact the business. What does it want? Does she want a call back? Does she want more information? Does she want to converse by email? Does she want to book an appointment? So they don't need to stay in this lead nurturing phase forever. It's up to them. It's on their terms. So let's say we close that customer. That's not the end of the process. We've still spent a ton of money on marketing and we've got the sales. The money doesn't stop with that financial transaction. The opportunity doesn't stop, should I say. We need to turn those consumers and those customers into promoters of our business. And let's have a look at how we can do that. So I searched here some of the customers we're proud and fortunate to have with PlotBox. Okay, so I used some keywords, and you can see there in the top left-hand corner, Archdiocese of San Francisco Cemetery. And up pops Holy Cross Catholic Cemetery in Colma. Those guys they've claimed my Google My Business profile, and that's what's appeared there on the right-hand side. There's a photograph, there's a map showing where they are. There's a title, there are reviews. There's a summary, there's opening hours. That's all really important information, and it's free. You just need to populate it. That's what Google wants to show first. And what you can see here, there's a rating there of 4.7 out of 5, and there's 27 Google reviews. So that's fantastic. So if you think about Rebecca in the early stages, what she wants to know is this the right place for me? Is this the right place for my parents? She wants that validation online. And only through looking at these reviews is she going to then maybe have the desire to then want to book an appointment or reach out to the sales team. Another shout out here to Parkview Cemetery and Funeral Home in Manteca. They have a 4.3 out of 5. The 57 people have made that rating for them. And they've got actual written recommendations on Facebook from 18 people. It's very, very convincing. This is the promise of their proof. It's the proof of their promise, should I say. It's been a long day. It's the promise of their proof. So that on their website, they've got all of this information. They're saying all of this stuff. But it's not just them that are saying it. They've taken the offer to get reviews online. So that it's validated by the community as well. And Inglewood Park Cemetery, doing very, very similar. A huge amount of reviews for these guys. So they've got 4.4 out of 5 on Facebook. They've got 256 people making that rating. And what these guys are doing especially well is they're interacting with those reviews, with those people that are giving them this information. So there's Bertha here on the right-hand side. She's left a very, very complimentary review of her experience for her family. Inglewood Park have replied to that. It's very clever. Not only is it courteous, that reply ends up on the newsfeed of Bertha's contacts. All of Bertha's network can see that Bertha has left this review and is interacting with Inglewood Park. So then it loops back round. So Bertha's friends then become strangers, might then be attracted to the Inglewood Park website or to the Facebook page. And so the process starts again. And it's just this complete rebirth of sales processes starting all the time. It's powerful stuff. So I think there are 3 things that we can learn and we can take away and do. You can't and you shouldn't do everything at once. It's impossible and it's overwhelming. But depending on where you are on your journey, there are probably 3 things. First of all, your CRM. You have to digitise your leads and your sales process with ideally a cemetery-specific CRM. We can't stress that enough. It's critical to your return on investment. It gives you visibility of what's working marketing-wise. And when you close revenue, when you win business, you're able to see, did that contact come from any kind of marketing activity? Or was it just purely the work of sales? Or was it a walk-in? That gives you good information as to where to spend in the future. Chatbots. So, let's say we go away, we do all this paid advertising, we do these blogs, we get all these people writing stuff and putting stuff out there, and then the cemetery office closes at 5 or 6 o'clock in the evening. Everybody finishes work at the same time. They go home, they have dinner, then they're sitting on their phone and their tablet watching TV. And you know what? They find their way onto your website. But there's nobody there, more often than not. So you need a bot. You need a little message thing that just pops up. They're off the shelf, easy to buy, cheap. Anybody can do it. And if you can't do it, somebody you know can do it. Easy to implement stuff these days. And as a minimum, what we need to be asking is, take this email address, leave us your email address, leave us a short message, indicate what you want from us, and when the office reopens in the morning, we'll come back to you with what you need. Otherwise, you're letting that traffic come to your website and leave, and it's wasted investment. And finally, at the back end, let's enable our sales teams with digital live inventory data. So whether they're in-home, whether they're in the office at the cemetery, or whether they're on the grounds of the cemetery, let's remove friction from the sales process. Let's not have people calling you back, let me check if that's still available, that was on hold, I'm not sure if it is, that one looks dodgy, I'm not sure. You want the process to be as frictionless as possible. So with live inventory data, your salespeople at the back end of that process are closing quicker, and you're not breaking the process and slowing the process down, opening up the opportunity for customers to do other things. Okay, so we're going to wrap up, and for anybody that wants, feel free to contact me with any queries, okay? No pressure, no obligation, feel free, my email's on the screen there. But a deliberately provocative statement, if I may. As long as your salespeople's activity is right, and they're doing the right things, they're doing the right calls, they're doing the right prospecting, they're doing the appointments, you can't ask them for more sales. More sales and more opportunity come from marketing. You might need to add a salesperson in time, and that might be the right thing. But in this modern world, my suggestion is that we acknowledge how the buying processes have changed, and we re-engineer what we're doing internally to make sure that we're found. Remember that statement, we're in buying processes that are 50 to 70% done before you even know you're in one. You have to be where your consumers expect you to be. We've used cremation here and burial today just as an example, but no matter what your challenge or what your opportunity, a huge part of your success lies in the education of your communities, which for me is best delivered through inbound marketing. Thank you. I'll happy to take any questions, any queries. If anybody has any. No? I think we're done then. Thank you. Thank you. Cheers.